Everybody, we're back on our winter jobs on the livestock farm series today. So if you've just seen, we've just bedded up a shed with some straw. Now, we used to do it like that with a prong, but that's not very easy. It's not very efficient actually nowadays. The price of straw is too expensive to put it out manually. So we use a machine nowadays, so let's take a look at that. Right, so this is the machine we use. It's a Tarrap, Caverland Tarrap 853, the model number. So we bought this machine 2012 as an ex-demonstrator, so it was almost new, but not quite when we got it. It sits on this tractor all the time, doesn't come off all the winter. So we got it on the 698 there. This tractor just does the bedding all the winter. So I've just had to jump over the fence into the calf's pen. So while we're in here, this is the bed it makes. So as you can see, the straw, it doesn't cut it. It just doesn't chop it at all. It just goes through as it was in the baler. Just leaves a nice bed. It's very even, much more even than you would do with a prong manually. And also, I mentioned it was too expensive to do it manually now. The price of straw, because it's so efficient, the way it spreads it over, makes a nice even bed. They're bedded every day. You can see how nice and clean they stay, just using minimal straw. You can see these cows, they're eating barley straw, but you can see how clean they are. You know, there's the massive saving we make by doing it mechanically. It has no detrimental effect at all on the cleanliness of the cattle or the health. You can see these are all in here, perfectly happy. Right, so we'll have a close up of the machine. We'll start at the front, obviously PTO drive. It's got a flow and return hydraulic line and the electric control box we'll look at in a minute. So the PTO drive comes into a gearbox. Now these machines, there's loads on the market, they're all virtually the same. They all do the same job. It's a dual purpose machine. So they will feed cattle and they will bed out the straw. So what this gearbox here, it's got a lever comes out the side. So you push it in, it makes the big fan in here, makes that turn quickly for blowing straw. Or if you pull this lever out, change the gearbox into low speed, that changes the speed of the rotor to slow, and that will then blow out your silage. So it doesn't blow it far, it just drops it to the side where you're running along in a feed passage. So there's a little bit in here at the moment, it's not going to show very well. But down in the base of the floor there's a moving chain that takes the straw to the front. Up in the front there is the big impeller that turns around and blows it up, the spout up there. Now between the two, you can just see it there, there's a big drum that revolves against the turn of the bed chain, pulls it forward, and that rotor turns that way and teases out the straw. So you can see this is the straw length we've got in the bale, and it's the same as what we just saw in the bed. So it doesn't cut it, it just teases it out, feeds it to the blower, and then the blower fires it out. So these are the big straw bales we've got this year. If you watched back in the summer, you saw us picking these up. These are wheat straw. What are they? They're 3 foot high and they're 4 foot across, six strings wide. And this machine, it will take one of those. We sit it on its edge so the strings are on the tall side. Or normally in the past we've used round bales of straw. This machine will take 2 round bales because that door folds down to take the bale. And you can unwrap 2 bales and feed 2 bales through, depending on how much you need to bed. So here's a control box up in the cab. We've got speed, that's the speed of the bed. Either turn it that way to slow it down, which is where you would need it for feeding silage, or you speed it up. The faster on straw, the faster the bed goes, the faster it feeds into the rotor, and the farther it will blow it then. Obviously it depends on the straw and how dry it is, but it's set there. So that is a switch you put the bed into motion with, or you can reverse it if you get a blockage. That middle one there is up and down on the tailgate to load and to drop it down and load your bale, and that switch is actually replicated on the back of the machine, so that you can control that from outside as long as the hydraulics are running. And there's four-way lever here. Up and down does the spout on the top, and side to side does the swiveling of the spout. So the up and down is done with a little electric actuator. Side to side is by hydraulics fed from the tractor. So back at the start of the video I explained why it was so efficient to use one of these machines now. That comes about because the use of straw is drastically reduced. You saw the bed we put in for the cattle just there. That's just a thin lay-in every day. If we were in there with a prong we would layer it in quite thick and it would be a bit lumpy and they would play with it then and spread it out themselves. So what they do when we blow it in, as you saw in the video, it comes in such an even layer. It's far better than we could ever do by hand, and they still get to eat a bit of it and play about with it as they would normally. The second thing is it's much safer. In that video you've just seen, there was those store cattle. They're a year old now. And that you could see when I was in with these babies just here, they come and they're inquisitive and they have a lick and a sniff. These little ones, if you're not careful, they can knock you over at sort of 3 months old. If you get in a shed with those year-old cattle shaking straw about, they get boisterous. They can soon have you over, and it's just not safe to be in there with them on your own. So what we do is one person does our bedding. Brother does this early mornings, first thing, every day. So he can do it all on his own. He's got no hassles. He's nice and safe. We know where he's to. He can't get hit over by the cattle because he's not in with them. So there's a safety factor which is just as important as the efficiency of the straw. With straw this year, back at harvest time, it was expensive. I mentioned that in a video we picked up. I mentioned that in a video when we were picking up some rape straw. We bought the rape because the wheat was expensive. Actually, during last summer, an awful lot more wheat straw was baled than is normal. And because of that, the actual price at this time of year, and where are we now? Early February, the price of wheat straw has dropped back quite significantly to what it was back last harvest. But it still pays to be efficient and make best use of the straw that we've got. So that's the reasons why we operate this machine. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, a little insight into what we do every day again, in our little series. We have gone away from manual labour on this task, not through laziness, but for the reasons I've just explained. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up down in the corner down there. Please also subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.